Anyway, so this fella named Ryan Beard has had some choice words for me. He's extremely convinced that I'm an anti-Semite, though he can't actually explain why. And he's extremely convinced that he is qualified to judge who and who isn't a Zionist and what Zionism is and what anti-Semitism is. And I'm here to tell you that he is very much not qualified for any of that, okay? This is someone who has no fucking idea what he's talking about, who's just learning as he's going along and trying to adapt things in a way that will allow him to sympathize with people who are absolutely horrid, the modern Nazis. Something that these people always pretended to stand by is, you know, punch a Nazi, fuck Nazis, concede nothing to the Nazis, blah, blah, blah. And then the time comes for him to actually do something about the modern Nazis, the Zionists, doing actual racial genocide in Gaza. And they can't bring themselves to. They have to play the middle. It's just fucking pathetic. So this is from 3 years ago. This is what Ryan Beard knew about Israel, Zionism, and anti-Semitism 3 years ago. Are you ready to laugh? I am. This video, by the way, is called Trisha Paytas is an Actual Nazi. And it's 100% serious. That's not hyperbole. He actually made this video arguing that she's a Nazi. I'm sure she's a piece of shit, but a Nazi? Give me a fucking break. And the reason he made this video, by the way, is because he's a fanatical Ethan Klein fan. He admitted that to me in DMs. He has been like parasocially attached to Ethan Klein since he was very young. So he made this video to attack Trisha Paytas because Trisha Paytas had like a conflict with Ethan Klein. That really is all there is to it. Like, what a ludicrous fucking video in the first place to even make. Because now you have Ethan Klein, who is way more of a closer ideologically to a Nazi than this person ever really was. I doubt this person has much of a developed political ideology. I mean, she's like a fucking beauty YouTuber, a vlog moron or something. Ethan Klein has an actual, really somewhat developed Zionist political ideology, which is adjacent to Nazism. And his video on Ethan Klein, which he says he's making, it's not going to be anywhere near as accusatory as this Trisha Paytas is a Nazi. It's going to be like, Ethan Klein is a poor, confused individual. He said some bad things, but man, he's also a victim somehow. You know, he's made some good points every now and again as well. So for Ethan Klein's enemies, they are to be denounced as full Nazis. No reservations. For Ethan Klein, the guy who is actually supporting the Holocaust of our day, a racial genocide carried out by his favorite country, Israel. We need all the grace in the world. What more is there to say aside from that? But anyway, prepare yourself for what's to come. However bad you think it could be, trust me, it's worse.
She said that America is superior to Israel. That is just one step removed from saying white people are superior to Jewish people. If you don't want people to think that you're a white supremacist, you probably shouldn't say that your country is superior to Israel. Because you know who else thought that their country was superior to Israel?
So this guy, this know-it-all, 3 years ago, he made a video where he said that. Just the dumbest thing I've ever said. I don't even need to explain why it's fucking stupid, right? What an insane fucking thing to say. There's a million ways you could approach that and explain how fucking insanely dumb it is. This is a 3-year-old video. It is from January 2022. Now, myself, in 2022, you know, I made a whole videos like explaining what liberal Zionism is, you know, going in depth on actual Nazi ideology, anti-Semitism. Like this video of mine, for example, is from July 2022. I go in great depth about liberal Zionism, which is Ethan Klein's ideology and very much Ryan Beard's ideology, though he will deny it and claim that he's an anti-Zionist. You know, I made a video a year earlier where I explain in incredible depth Nazi ideology, how, you know, anti-Semitism factored into their ideology, how countries like Israel are very similar to it. 2021. This guy is clearly, he doesn't fucking have any idea what he's talking about. There's no way in 3 years he has anything resembling a solid understanding of these things, given that he has not, you know, he clearly has not been researching them or anything. He has claimed that he has been an anti-Zionist for a very long time. He claims here, for example, I am 100% unequivocally anti-Zionist. If you want to criticize me, go right ahead, but don't do it by attaching me to an ideology that I have always completely disagreed with. Dude, 3 fucking years ago, you said that if you think Israel is a shit country, you're just like Adolf Hitler, who also thought Israel was a shit country. Israel is a shit country. Any country is superior to Israel. Any country, aside from Nazi Germany, is superior to Israel. That's a great little fact there. He clearly thought, literally 3 years ago, that Israel and Jew were synonymous. And he's saying that, like, no, No, you have not always been an anti-Zionist. Want more evidence of it? I mean, I have no problem showing you more. So when I did a fundraiser, this is the how I even heard of this guy, by the way. I did a fundraiser for the UNRWA last year, more than a year ago. And Ryan Beard tried to sabotage the fundraiser by saying, "Are you fucking kidding me? Bad empanada? You're going to do a stream with bad empanada? The online left is cooked. Jesus Christ." He's always been an anti-Zionist. He's also a leftist, apparently. That's also not true. He's always been an anti-Zionist, but bad empanada is an anti-Semite. You know, you can be too anti-Zionist for him. And the funniest thing about that is at the same time where he said that we shouldn't fundraise for Gaza, he had a pinned tweet where he was soliciting donations for a documentary about being fat. I'm not fucking kidding you, okay? This is how I even know who this guy is. He came at me. He's going to claim, or he has claimed already, that I'm harassing him. The only reason I even know who he is because of him posting this shit, trying to sabotage a fundraiser for Gaza. Like, this guy has posted about me so fucking much. Oh my god. He's like, "Oh my god, Bad Empanada played Call of Duty on stream." And he said he was going to kill Healer, something that, for one, I didn't say. For one, Healer was actually a combatant. She lies about being a secretary. This is going to be covered in the Ethan Klein content nuke. Healer was a soldier. The secretary thing is a cover. They have said multiple times that she was actually a soldier. And from the rank that she clearly displayed in some of her photos in her beret, it's a year of combat training. So she was not just a secretary. That was the joke that I was making there. You see? I said, I'm hunting secretaries. And then the supposed secretaries were actually shooting at me first. Do you get the joke? It's that she's lying. She was a soldier. She was a combatant. They lie about what they did. Now, you know what makes it clear you're a Zionist? You're angrier about that joke. You're angry about that than you are about Hila Klein kidnapping a random Palestinian man in the West Bank on a raid which she openly admitted to. You're angry about me making fun of her for being an illegal occupier in the West Bank, by choice, by the way. She chose that transfer. You're angry at me for laughing at that. But you're not angry at her for forcibly disappearing a man in a terrorist raid. Yeah, you're a definite real anti-Zionist, Ryan. You are the most anti-Zionist of all the anti-Zionists. This guy claims to be anti-Zionist, and he claimed that Biden and Kamala were trying to stop the genocide in Gaza, by the way. According to Ryan here, he posted 8 fucking months into the genocide. Kamala has pushed for a ceasefire in Gaza. Just an utterly insane thing to say, by the way. The Biden administration did nothing about Gaza at all. Nothing. Literally nothing. Trump did more. You see, when Trump came in and immediately did a ceasefire, the Biden administration could have done that at any time. The fact of the matter is they put no limits on Israel. Nothing. They didn't negotiate shit. They didn't want to either. And Biden administration officials have openly said this. They've bragged about it. Senior officials in Washington, according to Israel's Channel 13 News, admitted that the Biden administration did not at all push for a ceasefire in Gaza. This is something that was fucking obvious at the time. Everyone's been saying this for fucking ever. And this guy somehow thinks they were pushing for a ceasefire. He saw no evidence of that. He saw no reason to believe that. But he still spread that narrative. This is an anti-Zionist, apparently, by the way. This is an anti-Zionist. Despite the White House's public messaging about restraining Israel, the internal consensus appeared to be that the administration had no intention of exerting real pressure on the Israeli state. I need you to understand why this guy thinks this. For one, he's a liberal. Obviously, he's a Zionist, even though he says otherwise. He's a liberal. For two, as it says here, the White House's public messaging about restraining Israel, he sees words and thinks they're actions. This guy thinks that Biden pretending to cry, or I don't even know if he even pretended to cry, but let's imagine that Biden pretended to cry about children from Gaza. Let's imagine that Biden pretended to cry about children from Gaza, right? And then he went and signed over another bomb shipment. This guy sees the crying, and that's what he pays attention to. He doesn't pay attention to the actual actions. It's fucking zero IQ shit, man. Just zero IQ shit. Where's the anti-Zionism? There's none of it. This guy, by the way, is clearly totally unequipped to call anyone an anti-Semite, to make any sort of claim to be like an anti-Zionist. He knows nothing about the topic at all. And his views on the topic are clearly tinged by the fact that he's attached to Ethan Klein. He admitted this to me privately. He has a personal attachment to Ethan Klein and his content, and he really wants to find some angle to defend him, some angle to give him good grace. He's like, I think Bad Empanada is an anti-Semite. He's a doxer and a horrible person who believes Jews aren't oppressed. Yeah, they fucking aren't. Where are they oppressed? He can't tell you, can he? This guy, 3 years ago, he thought that Israel and Jew was one and the same, and he's here to lecture you about who's an anti-Semite and who isn't. 3 years ago, he said that Hitler thought his country was superior to Israel. And he's here to tell you about how he's the real anti-Zionist and the other anti-Zionists go too far. This guy also constantly shows up in like the chats of like the H3 podcast, H3 orbiters. This one is from like this disgusting H3 orbiter called Papa Gut. He shows up in his chat and he's like, did you hear that IDubs followed me and then I criticized Hamas? Well, look at them. They support those damn Islamic resistance fighters. He's anti-Zionist. And here he is bragging about how he criticizes Hamas. You know, a normal thing to do for an anti-Zionist is to go to a Zionist stream and try to like curry favor with them by telling them how much you denounce the resistance and making fun of people who, according to you, didn't want to associate with you anymore because of that. Yeah, dude, real anti-Zionism here. This guy is making a video about Ethan Klein, he says. So I talked to him privately. He did not want to come on stream, but I had a bit of a chat with him in DMs, not voice. And he does not know much, okay? He really doesn't know what he's talking about. He did not know, for example, that the Nakba started before the Arab states intervened. There was so much stuff that he did not know about, very basic stuff that you would expect an anti-Zionist to know about. So that he thinks that he has any right to pronounce on this sort of stuff is just Dunning Kruger manifest. This is someone who thinks they know everything and who also wants to play both sides at the same time. He wants to be liked by both sides. But there's no both sides here. There's no centrist angle to this. Zionists are Nazis. The time is here for you to like put your money where your mouth is. You know, you've denounced Nazis. You've said punch a Nazi for all this fucking time. Well, here's the time for it. Here's the moment where you can put that into practice. Zionists are the modern Nazis. Zionists are doing a Nazi-style racial genocide. Where's the energy for that? Why are you looking for ways to apologize for them? Why are you looking for like ways in which you can sympathize with Ethan Klein, a Zionist? Why? Because you're not an anti-Zionist ultimately. Because you're not actually anti-Nazi ultimately. It was all posturing. It's easy to say punch a Nazi when the Nazis aren't really any real significant threat. It's a lot harder to say the same about Zionists when the Zionists are doing the same exact thing that you've claimed to be against this whole time. 3 years ago, you said that Israel and Jews are one and the same, and that if you thought Israel was a shit country, you were basically Adolf Hitler. You believed the narrative of there being this great anti-Semitism crisis, and you just spread it uncritically. You know, the question to pose to these people is, okay, so if there's an anti-Semitism crisis, if there's massive anti-Semitic oppression, can you name us one group, like, in any place where there's a significant amount of Jews? Say, like, more than 500. Like, one group that faces, like, less oppression than Jews do. I can think of one group in the USA, whites. Nothing else. There's literally nothing else. So, you should ask yourself, why is there such a focus on anti-Semitism? Why are you focusing so much on anti-Semitism? Why are you talking so much about anti-Semitism? It doesn't really make any practical sense for you to focus on it in such a laser manner. It doesn't make any sense for it to be focused on in the media in such a singular way. You're not interrogating that, are you? You're just smearing anti-Zionists as anti-Semites for actually interrogating it, for actually having a material analysis of the facts of the reality. And all that this guy ever does when he responds to me is he just says that I'm an anti-Semite. He never actually responds to my arguments. When I pose him the question in DMs of name one group who you think, aside from whites, are less oppressed than Jews, he couldn't answer the question. His answer was that he thinks that Jews in Iran are oppressed, which isn't the case at all. Jews in Iran are basically just the same as any other non-Islamic religious group. Like, bringing up Iran is the worst place you really could have possibly brought up. A Jew in Iran is basically treated the exact same as a Christian. And to be clear, the population of Jews in Iran, in the Middle East, everywhere else, it's minuscule, almost no one. When he talks about anti-Semitism, he's clearly talking about the West. He's clearly talking about the US, Europe. And I'll reiterate what I always said about this. In the US and Europe, there is no group, aside from whites, that Jews are more oppressed than. So it doesn't make any fucking sense about this, okay? It doesn't make any sense, the singular laser focus on it. It doesn't make any sense that we're even talking about it right now. And the only reason that we're talking about it, the only reason that the idea that we should, is it was even implanted in your head, is because of this narrative that you're seeing in the media and you're accepting uncritically, coming directly from Zionist organizations and from the pro-Israel media who want to spread it. And the fact that you're not interrogating this during a genocide, you're not interrogating how this narrative benefits the genocide and the genociders and the Zionists like Ethan Klein, shows that you're not an anti-Zionist, because an anti-Zionist would do that. It's not denying that there is anti-Semitism. Obviously there is anti-Semitism, though anyone who is interested in really denouncing anti-Semitism would be denouncing it in the context of it being weaponized against Arabs in an actual systemic way. Anti-Semitic tropes are being used against Arabs way more than they are against Jews now, to way worse effect. Arabs are actually being deported and attacked, not just in the US either, in Germany as well, for example, because of these sorts of repurposing of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories against Arabs. So it's a fucking joke that you're focusing on anti-Semitism or supposed oppression of Jews in this moment, even talking about it is a red herring, even talking about it right now, as if it's anything special, as if it's at all related, or it should be talked about at all in relation to Israel, is ridiculous. In Israel, Jews are oppressors. In Israel, Jews are considered superior by law. To even talk about anti-Semitism in this context is a fucking joke. And if that makes you uncomfortable, you're not an anti-Zionist. Now, this guy is like, just honestly, I almost feel bad for him. I think he's in a cult. I think he is in like a cult where he started watching Ethan Klein. Who knows fucking why? I guess he was probably like a 12-year-old or something. When he was a kid, he became attached to him, like mentally attached to him. And this has led him to just apologize for Ethan Klein in the dumbest ways possible. Like, I honestly find it really unbelievable. I didn't actually finish my thought earlier. What I was going to say about the video that he's making on Ethan Klein, he's going to try to have his cake and eat it too. He's not going to do what you should do to a Zionist, which is unequivocally denounce them, unequivocally detach yourself from them, denounce them as what they are, a genocidal, racial supremacist beast. What he's going to do is he's going to be uncritically accepting Ethan's victim narrative, spreading the like CPS narrative, probably even the skulls, honestly. And he'll make like some light criticisms for the sake of fake nuance, for the sake of being able to say, hey, look, this isn't just an Ethan Klein glazing video. I said one or two negative things about him. And I think there's two outcomes here. Either it's too critical for Ethan Klein, because Ethan Klein can handle very little criticism. And he ends up getting skewered because of that, both by anti-Zionists for essentially making a video whitewashing a Zionist and attacking anti-Zionists for being in conflict with Ethan Klein. Because he's mentioned he's going to be attacking me, he's going to be attacking Hassan and iDubbbz and stuff. So it's either he ends up making a video that is sufficiently uncritical of Ethan Klein to be accepted into Ethan Klein's inner circle, which I think is what he's going for here. Or he's too critical of Ethan Klein, even in his attempt to glaze him, that he ends up having Ethan Klein shit on him as a result, and he'll be left being hated both by anti-Zionists and Klein and his Zionist contingent as well. Ethan Klein is an unabashed racial supremacist Zionist, okay? There's no room for nuance here, there's no room for giving him credit, there's no room for light criticism. You don't criticize someone like this, you just denounce them plainly, as you would like a fucking Nazi propagandist, which is what he is. The Nazi propagandists are here. What would you have done to them if they were before you in 1940? Well, now you have the chance to denounce him as you would back then, because Ethan Klein's there. He's the Nazi propagandist of today, isn't he? Ethan Klein has justified bombing hospitals. He's justified the Nakba. He said Israel is an awesome, diverse place with no apartheid. He said that Israel doesn't intentionally target journalists, doesn't intentionally target children. It wouldn't do that. He says there's no apartheid. He moved to Israel voluntarily to colonize it. He calls random Arabs terrorists. He's against any action to stop the genocide, such as anti-genocide blockades. He's married to a terrorist wife who disappeared a random Palestinian man in a terrorist raid. Like, there's nothing to say about him that could be good. It's like making a video denouncing Nick Fuentes and trying to find positive things to say about him. There's no difference. And that's where the angles he's going to go with here. It's a fucking joke. It's a total joke. And to be clear, the only reason why I'm kind of being nice to him is because I talked to him in DMs, and he probably learned a lot from that, but he's still going to like try to make a video smearing me anyway. I noticed that he's basically unswayable. Because like, I say something to him that he didn't know before, like regarding the colonization of Palestine, like that it was pre-planned for 100 years. Like he, for example, he tried to compare the colonization of Israel, of Palestine by Zionists to black nationalism in the USA. And I said, it's not the same thing, obviously, because black people were kidnapped there, forced there against their will, enslaved. So if they want to separate, if they want a little tract of land for themselves, that makes a lot of sense. And it's quite just, actually. But, Zionism isn't that. Zionism was a long pre-planned project of racial supremacy in which settlers went somewhere and invaded it and stole it for themselves so they could institute racial supremacy on that land. And he apparently had never thought of that. He apparently had never thought of how these things might be different. And I'm just flabbergasted that someone like that is making a video to slander anti-Zionists and to try and find something positive to say about a Zionist while calling himself a fucking anti-Zionist. Every single time I said anything to him that was objectively true, he would say that he agrees with it, and then he would throw out a clearly loaded question in response like, but do you think they should expel all the Jews? Like, but do you really think Israelis are bad people? It's like trying to find something positive to say about Nazis. Like, if you wouldn't say that sort of thing, if I were denouncing Nazis and explaining Nazism to you, and you're bringing it up in this context, you're not an anti-Zionist. The way that I explained it to him, and I gave him the opportunity to hop on the stream and talk about this, by the way. He only wanted to talk in DMs. The way that I explained it to him was like, the way that he poses me these loaded gotcha questions in response to literally any basic anti-Zionist position that I was saying to him, it's like responding to someone who's denouncing Nazism by saying, I agree, But don't you think the German people are victims themselves for being misled by Nazism? Why? Why do you all feel the need to pose these weird, loaded questions in response to any anti-Zionist speech if you're actually an anti-Zionist? I had to explain to him what the Palestinian Authority was. He didn't know what the Palestinian Authority was. I had to explain to him why they're a collaborator organization. I had to explain to him basically like the very basics of Hamas, like how they operate. Like they're not actually an Islamist movement at all. They are primarily a national liberation movement in every single thing they've ever done and said. It's clear. It's just so weird that someone who claims to be anti-Zionist has so many loaded gotcha questions in like the Loner box style to ask whenever you pose him a basic like anti-Zionist position. But he's just so ridiculously into the H-free cult that there's no way that he could ever unequivocally denounce Ethan Klein, regardless of how disgusting Ethan and Hila are today. Hila especially, obviously, but Ethan, he doesn't deserve to be given any grace just because Hila is worse. So he was confronted with the video. Remember the video of Ethan outright saying all the stuff that we have been saying about him with regards to Ethan said on his stream that his kids ate shit. He implied at least that his kids ate shit and that they got giardia from it. Okay? And Ryan Beard started defending having shit all over your house and your kids eating it. I'm fucking sorry. I can't even laugh at this after talking to him because it humanized him a little bit. And I think he's a victim of a cult, honestly. I think he's a victim of a cult. And he's also too much of a narcissist, too much of an egoist. He has too much Dunning Kruger. And he likes H3 too much as a result of this. So he posted, infection by a parasite that is 6 times less deadly than the common flu is not a justified reason for a wellness check. I had a cat growing up that would shit all over my house no matter how much my parents tried to get it to use a litter box. This does not mean I was in danger of being neglected by my parents. You are literally justifying the CPS call now. To anyone outside your bubble, this makes you look totally insane. Okay, look, my man, look. If there are kids crawling around in feces, it is absolutely justified to call CPS to get them checked on. CPS should have checked your house. And CPS themselves obviously think that. The people who work there, you can criticize the organization as a whole all you want. The people who work there are ultimately social workers specialized in helping kids. And I'm pretty sure they know better than you or me what a shitty situation for a kid to be in is. When there is a shit-covered house, they should absolutely check it. Yes, they should, man. What are you saying? Please, this is painful. Why would you embarrass yourself like this? And I mean, he doubled down on it. He's just in a cult. He's a member of a cult, a parasocial cult. This is why there's no way that he could ever make a video outright denouncing Zionism, because Ethan Klein's a Zionist. He has a parasocial attachment to Ethan Klein. So he just has to find ways to paint Ethan Klein as a victim. He has to find ways that he can play the middle. It's going to backfire him on so bad. Everyone's just going to hate him for it. You can't play the fucking middle during a Zionist genocide. During a Zionist genocide, even before the Zionist genocide, you denounce the Zionists. You don't side with them on anything. There's no need for nuance. There's no need to find common ground with them. There's no need to find the good in them. You just denounce them. Denounce them as you would Adolf Hitler. You don't talk about how Adolf Hitler was a loving husband for about 16 hours before he died, and he loved dogs and he was a vegetarian. You shit on him. This is him doubling down on that animal shit thing. Children being occasionally exposed to animal shit is not something worth calling CPS over. Yeah, man. If you have evidence, as in someone openly saying on their stream, implying that their kid is ingesting feces, that they're crawling around in it and putting it in their mouth, that is something that is worth a CPS visit. That's just a fucking fact. Yes, it is, man. That is a situation that warrants a visit. I don't like as well how they're talking about CPS visits like it's swatting. It's not, man. It's not something to be traumatized over. It's not something super mega serious. Even if the CPS visit was erroneous, even if the house really wasn't as Ethan Klein implied it was on his stream, the visit's still fucking warranted to make sure it's not. To keep the kids safe. Not at all a bad thing. If CPS checked on them because they suspected, based on, rightfully by the way, on what Ethan had implied on his stream, that the house was covered in shit, and they checked on them, which, by the way, we don't actually know that any of this actually happened. There's still no evidence for the CPS call, but anyway, if they checked on them, found the house was not covered in shit, gave them the all clear, then good. The system worked. They did that job. That's what they're supposed to do. The ideal CPS visit is one that wasn't actually needed. They can't just take your children away unless they have a reason for it, like your house being covered in shit. That would be a good reason to take your kids away. And they wouldn't do that immediately anyway. Even if your house was covered in shit, they would ask you to improve it. They would ask you to fix it, and then they'd come back in a month. So get out of here with this victim narrative. This is not swatting. He wasn't raided by SEAL Team 6. It was a social worker trained in dealing with children, trained in assuring child welfare with a clipboard. The narrative is bullshit. And that Ryan Beard is saying that, like, if your kids are crawling in shit, they shouldn't be checked on. Yes, they fucking should. This is like a CPS visit is nowhere near as serious as you're saying it is. This is not swatting. His house wasn't raided by SEAL Team 6. The FBI did not kick his doors down. His kids at most were checked on. That's all. For perfectly valid reasons. Give us a fucking break. The only way that you can possibly say this is if you are just so parasocially attached to these fucking Zionist losers. Like, Ethan Klein is just an adult fucking baby. He's never been funny. He's never had anything unique about him that warrants you being attached to him. It's time to grow up and realize that now, because it's clearly affecting you in ways that are negative for you if you're making a video where you're trying to find reasons to side with him this desperately. Protect yourself. Don't protect Ethan Klein. You're about to embarrass yourself in abominably terrible ways. You're going to give us like a soundbite where you defend having a shit-covered floor. Don't do it. Don't do it. I honestly feel bad for him because what he's about to do with this video is a self-destructive endeavor. Oh my god, I just feel bad for him.